we have this K-shape environment where, due to the policy of the Fed, you have easy money and low interest rates, and all that easy money and low interest rates goes into blowing up equity markets and the bond market. And so you have people who are struggling, who don't own assets. They're finding their life is getting much more expensive, and you're finding the people who have assets are looking at their portfolio in amazement that their real estate and their stocks and their bonds have doubled, have tripled. And I think that doesn't resonate logically. Your mind, your eyes, and your gut are telling you that there's a disconnection here. And that's really where I think the heart of this awakening is in the realization that the valuations maybe just aren't quite justified to the economy underneath it. It is supposed to be a representation of the economy. George Gammon gave a good analogy, and I like it a lot. And the analogy was that if you envision a hot air balloon, the balloon is supposed to be the economy, and the basket underneath it is supposed to be the stock market. And as the balloon goes, so does the basket. But it seems as though it's inverted, whereby the economy is the basket and the stock market is the balloon. And where the stock market goes, it drags the economy along with it in a perverted sort of way. The bottom line is that I believe that people are waking up to the fact that they realize that this, in many respects, is a function of the policies that the Fed has embarked upon, and it is not sustainable long term. There's an old saying that it's easier to make money than it is to keep it, and I think that's what is playing into this expansion into what is a section or a swath of the public that we've never even knew existed. Buybacks, no. I mean, look at there's something here in the States that we call junk silver. That's dimes, quarters, and half dollars minted prior to 1965. It's as rare as hen's teeth right now. Used to be the least expensive thing that you could buy, and now it's the most expensive thing with the exception of silver eagles. And this crystallizes your second question, and that is, will we see buybacks? And I say, hell no. In fact, junk silver, which hasn't been made since 1964, is impossible to get. No one is selling. Anyone who wanted to sell it sold it a long time ago. No one is selling to go back into the swamp, back into fiat currency. Instead, they're hanging on to it with both hands. And I think as it becomes more and more evident that you need to have an exit from the matrix, precious metals is it. No one wants to go back even at a profit. They don't sell unless they have to. So buybacks represent next to nothing in everything that we do. It used to, in 2017, it was 6 out of 10 sales that we were doing were people selling back, as there was a new optimism in cryptocurrency and equities that were going to the moon. It has completely flip-flopped, and now it represents less than 1 out of every 1,000 orders we do is someone selling. No one is selling. And I don't think you'll see people eager to go back into dollars, chasing really all-time high valuations in the 3 pillars of wealth in this country, stocks, bonds, and real estate, all at all-time highs, measured against all-time low interest rates. Incredibly dangerous when you talk about the potential or prospect of interest rates rising, which would literally kneecap the 3 pillars of wealth in this country. The new reality that we're facing that is waking people up. I think that we are heading down this path, and that's I think the thing people need to realize is that once you start to head down this path, unless there's just a complete and total washing of the whole system, I think we're heading down this path. It's becoming very, very evident and very, very obvious that this is where we are going. And the fact that there's no real pushback against this makes it very, very concerning to me. It just goes to show the dumbing down of this society where people are just not up in arms. They're not concerned about something that is going to completely reshape this country 180 degrees. And the media doesn't really talk about this. You have to dig deep. You have to listen to people like you and I and if not, you don't hear it. And it's sad, but I think if you don't prepare, if you don't get out of the way of this, you're going to be swept away just like everyone else. As ultimately, I think the dollar is in big trouble. They are destroying it right in front of us. They are destroying the value of it. And if you go modern monetary theory, where you just print your way to prosperity, you go down the same road that Zimbabwe did. It doesn't work. And that's really what they're trying to do, is just use the Federal Reserve to print our way through all of our problems. If I had to guess, a lot of the things that we've been talking about start to play out in 2022. When the Fed announced the other day that they were going to taper, the bond market said no. The bond market cried BS, and the bonds rallied by 10% in 4 days. That's a massive move. That doesn't happen. If they expect taper, it should have moved the other way. And I say that to you because they saw her walking into the White House along with Powell, who is not going to be reaffirmed, in my opinion. So you're going full modern monetary theory. And if we see these two ladies get in and start enacting this type of policy, I think you're going to see fireworks in 2022. If I had to guess, we see gold and silver go markedly higher. I know Bank of America just came out and called for $3,000 gold in 2022. If you take a look at the ratio between gold and silver right now, the mining ratio, what's coming out of the ground, it's 7-to-1. 7-to-1. That's historically low. We have already demanded, we will see demanded for 2021 over 1 billion ounces of silver and a mine supply of 800 million. We're going to be a deficit in supply of silver. Of that 800 million ounces, only 30% comes from primary mining supply, about 240 million. We see a massive expansion into green and digital. You know, what's it called? General Motors just came out and said, I think by 2030 they will be 100% battery powered, get rid of the combustion engine. So you see this expansion into green. The need for silver is ridiculous. And so you are seeing, I think, between policy, between moving to a green and digital world, between the destruction of the currency, the policy of the government surrounding the viruses, I don't know, Patrick. I think we're living on borrowed time. And heading into 2022, I think if you don't have an exposure into gold and silver and look at it as wealth, not as an investment, if you haven't already built a core position, getting it is going to be much more challenging. But if we take that $3,000, just that conservative $3,000 price target of Bank of America, we divide by 7, which is what the actual gold to silver ratio, mining ratio is coming out of the ground. That puts silver at $428. Is that possible? Well, I don't know. You tell me. If it's coming out of the ground at a 7-to-1 ratio, but right now it's valued at roughly 75-to-1, I look at it as the most undervalued asset on the planet.